Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Chaotic Entertainment. I'm your host, Dan, and we've had a lot of Rimworld content on this channel in just this past year and a half. A lot of good times. So, I've decided to go through all the episodes and create a highlights reel of some of my favorite moments. I hope you enjoyed this little stroll down memory lane with me. And if you do, be sure to like, subscribe, and hey, maybe check out my Patreon while you're at it. It gets your name in the credits, and you get to name the characters in my videos. You also get access to our Discord server. Alright, enough shilling. Showtime. And last but not least, Noble, a child with severe violent tendencies. In addition to having terrible stats, she also specialized in hating other women, to the point that she sold herself into slavery. Now, my colony isn't advanced enough to use a butcher table, so they just kind of buried a rusty cleaver in a tree stump. Is it efficient? No. Is it sanitary? Also no. Nothing here is sanitary. The animals are literally shitting next to where I cut my meat and store my food. If you think my butcher block is bad, take a look at my research table. I wasn't aware that sitting at a table when you read is a type of science. People only a few towns away have running lights and indoor plumbing. Meanwhile, Doran lacks the critical thinking skills necessary to read at a table instead of on the floor. Yes. You really have to build a sturdy containment chamber for the entities, otherwise they'll make a break for it when they realize they're nowhere near as inhumane as, well, the humans that have captured them. I wasn't ready to plant any crops yet. Self-reliance was still a long way off after all. Instead, I had to be frugal and live off the kindness of strangers. In other words, playing with a solo colonist is like playing as a bottom feeder. And that's fine with me. I play Project Zomboid. I'm very used to ass-eating my way to the top. Mim started tunneling into what would eventually become our new home. Unfortunately, it just fed into another opening filled with more of this green shit. Disgusting. Look at all these elf poles. No self-respecting dwarf would live surrounded by leaves and foliage. Real dwarves sleep on hard floors and huff coal dust, like the great Father Grungni intended. Now this is more like it. It's not though. It's really not. Holy shit, look at all that. A bush sniper. Hell yeah, I'll get some VC in here, let's go. Oh, that's gonna be a problem. Okay, so she had some problems, but we all do. So I set a simple policy. She was allowed to stay until she set her first fire. Until then, she could stay here and live as a productive member of my community. It was 4 days. Oh, well, you knew the rules. Don't worry, we'll take care of ya. You loved fire so much. You know, this is gonna be poetic in a way. Now do me a huge solid, get the fuck out of my colony. So, did you know raiders can just drop pod their way into your base like the Emperor's finest? Because I fucking didn't. I grew up poor. We didn't have drop pods. We had alcoholism and cigarette burns, not deep striking terrorism. Everything was going pretty smoothly, and then I got this warning. A Schrat has awoken. What the hell is a Schrat? Oh, that's a Schrat. I don't like that. No, sir. I'm very not fond of that. I'm not fond of that either. Hey kids, lock up the doors. We're gonna let our guests outside solve our problems for us. Some tree got up and beat the shit out of one of these animals. Maria's butchering the tree. I was clearing out trees to expand my base when I got word that another Schrat got up. And apparently, it decided to go for round 2 with the goddamn rocks on the map. Why? I watched in silent horror as they started breaking the doors down. Shayla fought bravely. She held them in that doorway like a proud warrior fighting waves of unarmed children. The reward for industry and innovation is nature itself sending monstrosities at my door. Because Randy is the pettiest motherfucker I've ever had the displeasure of dealing with. Which means it can't just be a simple issue. No, the Schrat is the Lorax if the Lorax was something less amazing than Danny DeVito. It can't just come see me about its frustrations and its grievances. It can't have a one-on-one with me about my transgressions. No, it has to maul the giant buffalo creatures and make them stampede for my base for the 3rd time this series. We are now watching the worst type of camping trip. The one where your parents make you stay inside and just pretend it's one big tent because dad's blackout drunk again and can't keep his promises, and they're breaking my traps and making me upset. Randy, no more. For God's sakes, no more. Why are you doing this to me? I have no money. Why must I suffer like this? This is not better. Why? Why do you do the things you do? You're really sending this poor creature after me. Look at my mans. This thing hasn't gone a day without joint pain since FDR could walk. Oh wow, they are kicking the shit out of my colony. Please stop, I need those. I don't think things can... I don't think that things can get... And to really rub salt in the wound, Maynard Medieval thought it would be funny to take a little walk down memory lane. Speaking of crotch rot, the zombies informed me I had a new guest. Meet Frog. Frog's a fucking piece of shit. This is the worst man I've ever had the displeasure of meeting. There is conflict in the Middle East because of how vile this man is. Children are starving in Africa because of his existence. Some man out there just caught his foreskin in his zipper, and God is my witness, Frog is responsible for the surprise circumcision. So, Frost shot him in the dick, and then he lit himself on fire. I didn't realize methamphetamines came in liquid concentrate. Peck was tweaking out like that guy who followed me home from the gas station that one time. Now he was waiting next to the door for his victims. The poor robots didn't stand a chance. Whatever mechanoids are made out of, it's not as strong as a 40-year-old crackhead with a pointy thing. Tidy, in her infinite wisdom, decided to make fun of him for tasting the rainbow. This sent Peck into a coke-fueled rage. Remember, kids, it's not domestic violence if they're not married anymore. It's just regular violence, which is fun and cool. I can't hear you over the sound of my child laborers digging out space for my opium plantation. Or my child soldiers making sure my child laborers don't stop working. Because if they do, they get to go see Uncle Codex. And trust me, you don't want to see Uncle Codex. And since my colony wasn't big enough, I decided to hold tryouts to join my settlement. And as dwarves, it was hard for us to accept the idea of inviting a goblin into our home. But he proved his valor and his commitment by letting Poop and Fartin shoot him 6 times with a short bow without dying. Dwarves admire great stubbornness and even greater stones, and this little fella had both in spades. Welcome aboard, lad. All we have to do is beat the rest of the fight out of you, and you'll make a fine pet. Aw, look, he's got the zoomies. I'm not doing this for safety, I just need the goddamn storage space. I'm tired of my living room looking like my living room. This wall, however, is for my safety. Several inches of granite and marble between me and the outside world. My microscopic paradise filled with heavily armed and unsupervised psychopaths, protected with stone and spite. Like the founding fathers intended, Bishop decided to celebrate the victory in the most dwarf way possible, by beating the shit out of one of the mercenaries the High Stellarch brought with him. Man's not even one of the kin, but by Grungni, he's come a long way. He did steal one of the dude's toes, though. That was kinda weird. That raises questions I'm not sure I want answered. The Dorna Pact, though, they want answers for one very specific question. Why the fuck did only 1/10 of their soldiers make it back home when they visited my hold? Lady Paw celebrated our recent growth with a tumble in the sheets with her new beau, Pavel, while Mr. Dubstep watched. That's uncomfortable. Mr. Dubstep, please don't watch them have sex. Please stop that. You should always use protection, and what better protection was there than the warm, caring stare of a mindless ghoul eyeballing you from 10 feet away. For the good of the genie and my people, I selflessly ruined his life by capturing him and injecting him with my insectoid goo, turning him into one of our people. Now it was only a matter of time until we could get him to join us, by taking turns pointing and laughing at his hideous deformities until he did what we said. You look like the Goombas from that live-action Mario movie, and that makes me smile. You'll never have other friends, Majo. It's just us. That's why we treat you this way, to remind you that you need us. and that you're a freak. And even luckier, a group of rocks were on the map around the same time I had visitors. They seemed more than happy to help fill my freezer, which was extremely generous of them. Now I just had to wait inside until the surviving rocks calmed down and the dying ones bled out. Unfortunately, all the blood from the dwarves and animals made my haul an absolute nightmare, to the point that, for the first time since I've started playing this game, every single one of my pawns had a mental episode, at the exact same time. It was then that I realized, this playthrough's gonna be great. So what if my base is an absolute bloodbath? Who cares if 2 of my 3 dwarves have malaria while my doctor is mortally wounded? I'm not gonna worry, I've got 5 whole packs of medicine. We're gonna be just fine here. In the meantime, thank you all so much for watching. A huge thanks to my patrons for helping suggest